another live class for today. If you can hear me, please let me know, okay? Let me know in the comment section that you can hear me. So I want to know if you can hear me, please let me know. So let me know if you can hear me. So I'm just going to wait for people to join the stream. Okay, so while I wait, I'm just going to, yes, progress. Thank you so much. Good evening. Okay, so you can hear me. Thank you so much for confirming. Okay, so good evening and welcome. So yes, so you can see what we are going to be doing today. Progress, good evening. Yes, thank you so much. Chiamaka, thank you so much. Mildred, thank you. Okay, you're watching from South Africa. Thank you so much, guys. So let me show you what we are going to be cutting today. So can you guys see? You see this kind of bustier? That's what we are going to do. So it's like a under bust corset kind of bustier pattern. So with a side basque. So that's what we are going to do. And it has a yoke. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. Perpetua, you're welcome. Good evening. Sunny, good evening. Mildred, you're watching from South Africa. So let me know, guys, where you guys are watching me from. So good evening. Thank you, Helen. Good evening. So you guys can see, I've created space here now. So people know that the other side we're always managing it. That space on top of my machine. At times you will not be able to do what you want to do. So I had to create this space now. So yes, I had to get it an extra table. So now we can be seeing what we are doing better. Yes. So thank you so much, Helen. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So guys, let's just get straight into our tutorial for today. Hello, Mazuba. You're welcome. You came early today. Okay, so we are going to start now. So the first thing we're going to do, let's draft out our back pattern. So I am going to make it really and very detailed. Okay, so let me take out this fabric piece and then let's work on this piece. Okay, so you guys should watch. So like I said, this is what we are learning how to cut tonight. So you can see, can you see? So I'll make it very detailed that at the end of this class, anybody that joined this class, you will be able to cut that dress. Okay, so yes, so let's get started. So let's draft our back pattern. You people know how we normally do it. So if you are just joining us, you're welcome. Hit on the like button. Let me know where you're watching me from. Okay, so you can see you can see the way I'm placing my tape. So the first line I have here is my shoulder line, so which is like the start line, and then the next line I have now is going to be my bust point line. Thank you so much, Cynthia. You're welcome. It's going to be my bust point, which we normally call nipple. So I'll use 10.5 inches for that line. So you can use see. So I'll mark it like this. And then the next line that I have is this under bust. That's from shoulder to the under bust. I am going to use 14 inches for that line. Okay. So what I'm using 14 inches, normally my under bust is 13.5. So I added extra half of an inch. Now when I cut, I can use that to join it because you can see it is an under bust. Okay, so the next measurement that we want to add now is our waist measurement. So you can see that the waist is a little bit extended. Okay, so but for the back waistline is going to be normal. So for the back neck waistline, I'm going to use 18 inches. So this is 18 inches for my back. So I'll just add just 1 inch as stowing allowance. Okay, so can you guys see all of the lines? So now let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do, we're doing a basic body. So our shoulder measurement is 14. So you divide 14 into 2, you are going to have 7. So add just 1 inch for this as allowance. And then from this point, you are going to come down by half of an inch. So when you come down by that half of an inch, just float that into this point like this. Can you guys see? Because I've decided to be doing teaching you guys on my live stream how to cut for those of you that are finding it difficult. So you people should learn a lot. So from this point now, I will make them very detailed so that you can watch it and then follow it, and then you'll be able to so cut your own, okay? So the next thing we want to add now, we want to add our armhole measurement. So the armhole is your bust measurement divided by 6, and then when you divide it into 6, what you have, you add 1.5 inches to it. So when I did mine, I have about 8 inches. So I'm going to mark that 8 inches like this, okay? So when I mark that 8 inches, I'm going to connect, you remember that line. So I'll just connect that line like this, okay? And then the next thing we want to add now, we want to add half of our armhole measurement, which is 4. And then you just take your curve like this and then give it a beautiful curve like this. Okay, so after creating your curve like this, so those of you that are just joining us, you're welcome. Please let me know where you're watching me from. So the next measurement we want to add, and we want to add our bust measurement. So my bust that I'm using, I'll use 36. So you divide 36 into 4, we're going to have 9. And then we'll mark that 9, and then you add 1 inch for your sewing allowance, and then add 1 inch for your dart. So for this, you can actually do 2 inches for your sewing allowance. That's okay, and it is fine. So I'll mark it this way. And then the next measurement we are going to have now is our under bust measurement. So for the under bust, I'll use 30 inches. So I'll divide 30 into 4. I'm going to have 7.5. So I'll mark the 7.5 here. I hope the camera is not too far. So now I have the opportunity to adjust my camera very well, so you will be seeing all our tutorials better now. So I'll mark 7.5 here, and then I'll add 1 inch for my dart, and then 2 inches sewing allowance. I'll mark it here. And then the next measurement we'll have here is our waist measurement, which is 34. So 34, sorry, which is 32. So 32 divided by 4 is 8. I'll mark it here, and then I'll mark my dart and my sewing allowance like this. So after connecting all of this, I'll just connect all of this with my ruler like this, okay? So can you guys see we are done? The next thing we want to add now, let's add our neckline. So for the neckline, because it has a yoke, so most times when it has a yoke, it will have a little bit of small neckline, and then you determine the style you want to give to your yoke. So for this, let's use 3.5 inches for our neckline width. So we'll mark the 3.5 that way, and then we'll come down by just like 1.5 inches, okay? So when we do that, so I'll use my pattern curve to just give it a nice curve like this, okay? So after marking it, the next thing I want, how deep do I want my yoke to be? So this is my bust line, which is 10 inches. Excuse me, do I want my yoke to get to 10 inches, or I want it not to? So for this, let me use 9 inches for my yoke. So that 9 inches, I'm just going to mark that 9 inches. Can you see what I'm doing? So when I mark that 9 inches, I'll just like create this. So at the end of the day, can you see how it is slope? So that's how I want my back neckline, this part to be like a V for the back. So for the yoke, I'm going to determine, do I want to leave my yoke like this, or I want to give my yoke a style? So when it comes to this, you are the one that will determine what you actually want, okay? So if you want your yoke to just be normal round, you can just use the nip of your neckline like this, and then curve out like this. Or if you don't want it that way, you can just come in, you understand? So give it any style you want. So for this, I'll use like 2.5 inches, and then that 2.5 inches, I'll just curve it like this. Okay, so the next thing, I will add our dart. So for the dart, I'll use 4 inches for my dart. So I'll just mark that 4 inches across all of my lines like this, okay? So when I finish marking it, I'll connect it. I was almost forgetting it. It was the yoke that reminded me. So I'll connect it like this. So when I connect it like this, I want to take out 1 inch yoke. People remember, okay, Helen, Okay, now at the shoulder slope, why did you use half? I use half of an inch because I'm drafting directly on the fabric. That is why I use half of an inch. If I'm using a pattern paper, I'll use 1 inch. Okay. So if I do that direct on my fabric, if I do that, it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be bigger. Okay, but you can still use 1 inch, it will still be fine. But most times, once I'm drafting directly on my fabric, I normally use half of an inch. Okay, that's the ninth question. So the next thing, I'll come to my under bust measurement. I'll take half of an inch to the right and then half of an inch to the left. So from this point, I'll connect it. Can you see? I'm not taking out anything from my bust line. You can see how I floated it in. And then I will come to my waistline like this. And then like this also, I'll come to this point and then take this. So if we want to snatch this waistline now, if we want to snatch it, you can go ahead and snatch it however, but we're not doing that for today's class, so let's just leave that and let's cut. Okay, so for the dart, let's cut out our dart first. Okay, before that, let's cut out our neckline. It is much easier. So cut our yoke. Yes, let's cut out our yoke. So if you have questions, it is a live class. Ask your questions as I am teaching. It is easier. So once I raise my head, I will see your questions. I will answer your questions. Okay. So this is our yoke for the back. But if you don't want to add a yoke, you are still good to go. So this is the design that I use. I just used 2.5 inches and then marked it. Okay. Yes. So this is our design. Can you guys see? So let me cut let me cut this out first. So this is our dart. Can you see? I'll just cut it up to that point like that, and then cut this one also up to that point, and then cut the side of my blouse. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open this up. So if you notice, I've not opened the zip allowance part. I just left it that way. So the zip allowance, this is the zip allowance part. So I just want us to see the beauty of our dress. Can you guys see? You see how beautiful, simple and easy. So now I can open my my zip at the back. Can you see? So when it comes to sewing this, you are just going to, you can see, you remember where we connected it from the dart, from this dart line. That's where we terminated it. So when you want to sew, just know that it is going to be here like this. And then there's something, if you don't want your dart, if you don't want this back to gape, you can actually take out like quarter of an inch from this point like this. Okay, so that's the lesson for another day. Let's leave that one. So can you guys see the back of our design? You see how beautiful our blouse is? Yes. So like I said, okay, thank you so much, Ellen. You can see how beautiful. So guys, I expect you guys to be able to do this now. Okay, so now let's take out our back piece and then go to our front piece. Okay. So I'm so excited. I have space on my table now. Okay. So now let's work on our front piece. Okay. Yes, so for the front piece, let me trim out. So you guys should please like this video, give it a thumbs up. On the right side of your screen, you see some three dots this way. Just click on it, you see the like button, and then like the video. Okay. All right, so let's continue. So the first thing we're going to do now, so we're starting the front pattern now. Let's mark out our shoulder line. So you guys should pay attention. This is like the attention. I remember there's one ad. attention on TV. I just remember it as I said the word. So I'm marking my shoulder measurement. So let's go over all our points again. And then from this point, I'm going to mark my arm, my bust line. So I use 10.5, like I said. And then my bust, under bust, 14 inches, like this. And then, so you will remember that our back piece is 18 inches, right? Yes, it is 18 inches. But for this, I'm not going to mark it at 18 inches because I'm going to take out a dart. Okay, so the darts, I'm going to add a bust dart to this pattern. So I'll mark 20 inches. Why am I marking 20 inches? I will explain to you people. The dart that I actually want to take out is 1 inch. So normally it should be 1 inch difference. But this one is not going to be like that because if people notice this dress, you can see that it has like a basque waistline, and it's like I'm even going to need more fabric from what I'm seeing here now. So I have about 22 inches of fabric, which might not be enough. So I will add fabric to it when we are done. So why I'm using 20 inches, that I'll use 1 inch. So that I will have, since I want to cut it at that under bust, I'm not going to have any issues at the end of the day. So it's not going to be too short. So I'll still have extra even when I take out my bust. That's okay. So that is why I'm doing that. So let's see. It's like we have Mazobe. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, I thought of it. I thought of it because that place is too small. I had to just clear this space and then get a table. Thank you so much. All right. So now let's continue. So now we'll add our shoulder measurement. So the shoulder measurement that we're adding, you will remember we're using 14 divided by 2 plus 1 inch, which is 8. And then I'll come down by half of an inch just like I did before. I'll just float that in and then measure half of my armhole, which is 8 inches. So that 8 inches now is going to serve as my chest line. So I'll just mark it straight like this. And then I will connect this now with my straight ruler. Okay. So connecting it with my straight ruler, I'm going to mark half of what I have here, which is 4. So I'll come in by quarter of an inch like this, and then from that quarter of an inch I will mark my armhole. Okay, so I'll connect this to this point like this, and then I'll create a beautiful curve here like this. Okay, yes, so can you guys see? So the next thing we want to add now, let's take out our dart. Okay, so our dart, we're using 8 inches, so our dart divide by 2, which is 4 inches. So I'll mark that 4 inches on this waistline. I'll mark it here. I'll mark it on my bust line also, and then I'll still mark it to the chest line. Yes, and then at the end of the day, I'm going to connect, use my straight ruler like this to connect all of the points together. So when I connect all of these points together, so when it comes to the making dressmaking, you are going to check. You understand? So always check the pattern. You understand? Always check the pattern to know the best dart to use. Okay. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to take out our dart. So to take out our dart, so the dart intake that I'm going to use for this, I'm going to use like 3 inches dart intake for both of them. So that 3 inches dart intake, I'm going to divide it into two. So I'll take 2 inches to one side like this, to my right hand side, and then take 1 inch to this side. So I can decide to divide it half, one and half, one and half. So it totally depends on you. Okay, so from this point now, from this my under bust point now, I'm going to mark this dart intake. I'm going to connect it to this point like this. So like yesterday, I think I explained why I am taking the curved dart. So maybe in another upcoming class, I'll do the straight one. Okay, so I'll just mark it like this so you can see how I'm connecting it to this point and then connecting this. So now the next thing that I want to do now, this is my bust point. I want to create a curve like this. Can you see? So I'm just using my free hand. I have all the curves that I need to use. But why I'm doing this, for the sake of those people that do not have a pattern curve. So don't think it's because of a pattern curve. That's why you are not getting your posture correctly. It's not true. So from this now, I want to mark this one now. So at this point, I think even myself, I don't give up. Let me let me use my curve. Okay, yeah. You see, that's the beauty of using a curve. But if you don't have it, don't worry about that. Okay, so I've curved this now. So the next thing that I want to do now, we want to check. So for this bust here, if you check, you can see the way the dart is running. So I'm just trying to check it. You can see the way the dart is running. The way the dart is running, it looks like a princess dart, but I know it is not a princess dart. It's like it is a shoulder dart. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to mark my neckline. So the neckline that I'm using 3.5 inches. So I'll come to this point like this and then I'll mark it like this. So when I mark it like that, I'll come to the length of that neckline. So if you see this neckline, so that length of that neckline is about 3 inches. So I'll mark it like this. I'll mark the 3 inches and then I'll give it a nice, beautiful curve. So I'll use my pattern curve at this point. And then when I'm done, I'll check what do I have here. And then I have about roughly 4.5 inches. So that 4.5 inches, I'll just check. I want to get the accurate center. I'll mark it here and then I'll connect it to this my line like this. Okay. So that shoulder that I might not need it. I might not open it. You understand? I'm just putting it, but I will not open it. If you notice yesterday when we opened it, but this one is not necessary. I'll not open it. So I'll just tighten my over bust from this point and then just leave it. So the next thing we want to add now, let's add a bust dart. So our bust dart, you will remember that I said I use 1 inch. I'm going to use 1 inch difference. So what I'm going to do now, come to this my under bust line like this, and then I'll mark the 1 inch like this. So when I mark the 1 inch like this, I will connect that 1 inch to my bust point like this. So this will help to enhance my bust. You understand? So I'll connect it like that. Can you guys see? So at the end of the day, I'm going to pin that part before we cut it. Okay. I'll pin it before I cut it. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to create that basket effect. So like I said, I was telling you people initially, I don't even know where this one came from. It's like it's from the back pattern. So I'm just going to place it like that and then cut. So my front fabric got truncated. So in order for us to create that basque effect, so before we create out the basque effect, let's take out our full body measurement. So the full body measurement that I'm taking now, for the full body measurement that I'm taking now, so like I said, normally I'm supposed to, let me get my pins. So I'm just going to pin this down, okay? So like this one that I'm doing now, it is optional. You must not necessarily do it, okay? So I close that part. So like I said, normally when I close this part, I'm supposed to open this part, but I don't want to open it. I don't want to open that shoulder part, so I'm just going to leave it that way. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure my length. So can you see now? I have my 19 inches now. So this extra 1 inch, I'll use it to join this under bust. Okay. So the next thing I am going to do now, I will just cut this off like this. So in case you don't want to add a bust dart to your pattern, here's what you would do. In case, so I'm just using this since I'm teaching and we're already here. In case I don't want to add a bust dart, here's what I would do. I'm going to place this like this and then measure my half cut like this, so you can see. So at the end of the day, there are some people, they normally, they can cut their back and their front measurement to be the same. At times you can add that extra inches to it. When you add that extra inches to it during the process of sewing, we correct it. That's for those people that have experience. If you have experience when it comes to sewing, so when you sew, when you join the back and the front together, you can always trim it to make it equal. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you people, so let's just continue. That's the more advanced sewing. So let's add our bust measurement. So our bust is 36, which is 9 inches. So I'll place my 9 inches here and then I'll add 3 inches allowance. So and then I'll come to my under bust measurement, which is 37.5, and then 3 inches allowance and then sewing allowance. So I'll add that like that, and then I'll come to my waist measurement, which is 32, which is 8 divided by, and then check what I have. So here I have about 1.5. Bring that 1.5 back into your pattern and then add your sewing allowance like that. So when you add your sewing allowance, so if you don't understand what I'm doing, like I said, please ask your questions. Okay, we are here. So I'll place that back into my pattern like this, and then I'll place this. So for that basque, so I'm looking at the basque, even me too, I'm looking at the basque. So now when we're cutting, we will cut, we'll come down because it is an under bust. We're going to come down by 1 inch. So why are we coming down by 1 inch? So when I come down by 1 inch, that 1 inch will enable me, when I finish, you understand, I'll be able to sew it back. So it will not be here. You understand? To be perfectly here. Okay. So the next thing, to create that basque effect, I'm going to come to this part. So you can see the way that basque is looking like. The basque is looking somehow. So I think at the end of the day, I might have to open up my pattern first before I'll be able to do this. So I'm just taking a very good look at it like this, because it came to the side. I think I'll open up my pattern. So let's cut first. So I'll cut out my neckline like this. Okay, so you can see. So I'm cutting out my yoke. People notice I did not show you guys how to tighten the chest area, which I'm going to do now. I've almost totally forgot that, and it is very important. Okay, so that's my front yoke. So the next thing, because if you notice, you see it's a straight yoke. Can you guys see? It is just a straight block yoke like this. That's what it is. So that was why I told you that I'm not going to open the shoulder, because if you check the yoke, you see that the yoke, they did not open it up. Okay, so I'll place that. So now let me show you guys how to tighten that over bust. So on this side, I'm going to come. So today I'll use half of an inch for this part, and then half of an inch, and then that half of an inch, I'm just going to create. Can you see? It will curve into this point like this, and then curve into this point. So this will help me to tighten this area. Okay, so when I do that, I am done. So let me cut this out. before I try and form my basque. So I've cut out that side. Right. So I'm going to open this up now for me to create my basque. I'll open this up. I'll just place this like this here, and then I'll place this like this here. Okay. So this is the extra. Normally I'm supposed to add that, but since I did not have it, let me just place it like this. Okay. So now let's create out this side basque. So now you are going to determine where actually do you want to push it to. If you notice, the deepest part of it terminated at the dot line. Can you see? The deepest part terminated at this dot line. Okay. So you are going to determine, okay, how do you want that curve? You understand? Where do you want the curve? Because we're still going to cut this, but before we cut it, let's just do everything together. So from this part now, so I'm just thinking, let's see. Okay, this, so let me bring it to this side. Okay. So from this part now, so what you are going to do in order to get this, you are going to remember, where's my yoke? Let me place it so I can get my accurate measurement. So remember my half cut, which is 18. So that is where I'm going to take, that's where I'm going to take my bearing from. So from this half cut like this, that is 18, I am going to bend this. So this is where I am coming to. So I'll just come in a little bit. So when I come, after marking it there, so that part is going to be like the deepest part, okay? It's going to be like the deepest part. And then this other part, I'm going to, from this side of my waistline like this, I'm going to check my 18 inches again. You understand? So please check it, or else that's where you are going to use as your bearing. Can you see that part? You understand? So from this point like this is going to come. So this one now is not coming straight. I wish that I can you see my fabric was not enough. You can see what I'm doing. So you curve it into this point like this, and then put this into this point. So at this point now, you know my dart is running from so let me pin this. I think it is better. Let me pin them together so to make it really easy for me. Okay. So after joining like this, the next thing now I can now cut this out. So my dart will run straight like this, and then this dart also will run straight also. Remember, it is straight. So now at this point now, I'm going to start cutting the whole shape that I added to my piece. So that's what I will cut out. So once I cut it out, I'll take this off. That one is extra. And then this one also. So this one is coming like this. Oh, that's that's part of my piece. I just threw it away at once. So can you guys see? You can see our pattern. So let me shift it properly and arrange it so that you guys can see it. So that's my pattern. So for this, when you want to do this, I would advise for you to use a pattern paper so that you'll be able to fine tune it. However, just do it the way you like, as in check it, check it, check it, check it. So I'm just trimming that extra. So at the end of the day, this is what I will have. And then for my under bust, so for the under bust part, remember the extra 1 inch that I put on my pattern. So this is the extra 1 inch. I've marked it before. So now I am going to cut it at that 1 inch. Okay. So when I'm stitching, by the time I use the 1 inch to stitch it, my piece is still going to fit perfectly at my under bust. So can you see? This is a little bit, not very complicated, but a little bit of complication, but not much complication. So these ones are extra. Let me throw them away. I don't want to lose all my pins. That's how they get missing. Before you know, the pin will finish. You don't even know what happened to them. You just find out that you don't have pins again. I don't know if people can relate. I'm just going to drop that. So guys, can you guys see our beautiful under bust here with our slope? Is this slope? No, this is not slope. With our one-sided basque. All right, guys. Yes, I am tired now. Let me go and rest. Hello, good evening. Elaine. Yes, yes, if it's like this, it's already off shoulder now. Because it has a yoke, so it has already automatically turned to off shoulder. So if you don't want to use your yoke, once you take off your yoke, it is an off shoulder already. But once you bring back your yoke, it has a yoke already. Okay, guys. So thank you so much, all of you that tuned in into our tutorial today. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to all of you. Mhm. So I'll see you guys in our next live class, which is going to be on Tuesday. Some of you used to ask, when do I normally come live? The truth of the matter is that question at times is difficult for me to answer. People know why it is difficult for me to answer, because at times I'll be so busy during the day. I'm so busy working. In the evening, I'll be so tired to even come up. So at times that thing it happens to me, but at times when I still remember the people are here waiting, I'll just gather myself and still come up online. But other than that, on Tuesdays, I'll come up. I just saw one old picture of myself. You don't tell when I little guy. Oh. Are you posting? This picture is like which year? 2000 and 2012, 2003. Then I was not married. Yeah, maybe 2003 or so. Yeah, sabi do guy. Don't think when I dey do guy. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, Janet. Thank you so much. All of you that tuned in, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you on Tuesday by God's grace, unfailingly, by God's grace. Yeah, by God's grace. I pray that I'm okay, strong. All right, so guys, I'll see you guys. Have a nice day. I hope people like our new space. Yes.